Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Okanagan Valley. My name is Dan. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. And we're going to head out and do a quick little kind of check in on what sort of vehicles are currently available in the crossover and compact SUV classes. Because, well, if you know me, I tend to buy a new vehicle every 2 to 3 years and, well, gotta look sometimes, right? Now, the first vehicle I'm going to check out is the Lincoln Corsair. Now, this is kind of similar sizing to the Mercedes. It's also equipped with a 2-liter turbocharged engine. It, I believe, is a dual clutch. It might just be a standard automatic, but it's an 8-speed. And it's a Ford, so it has all that safety stuff, like your lane keep assist, I think it might even have that fancy cruise control in this model. But I mean, at least they come in cool colors. This blue is very nice. The red I'm not a big fan of, but an SUV just doesn't look good in red in my opinion. It's kind of a meh color. The next car I wanted to check out was actually the Volkswagen Tiguan, but our local dealership doesn't have any yet because they've redone them for 2025. So this is the Atlas, and it's a little big, but it's very similar in how it's laid out. This one, the Atlas, comes with a 2.5 liter all-wheel drive, whereas the Tiguan is a 2-liter all-wheel drive. And I think the Atlas is a little more capable in the off-road, but a little less dedicated for passenger comfort. Also, these vehicles, they certainly are nice to look at. I've never personally driven a Volkswagen SUV, and from what I can tell, it would be very similar to any of the Audi products I have driven. So for me, I would probably just spend the extra money and get the 4 rings on the front instead of a Volkswagen badge. But, it is what it is. Now, I would personally never buy a Hyundai or Kia or Genesis SUV, and that comes from personal experience with the brand in the form of owning one. I had a Elantra GT, and I worked for Kia. And I can tell you that, yeah, the vehicles might be cheap, but there's a reason. Also, they don't tell you enough about them to be able to maintain them properly, and then they just expect you to figure it out on your own. But I did spot this little guy. I had no idea what it was actually called, so I had to do the typical walk to the back and read the badges. This is the Santa Cruz. Now, I had to do a little bit of digging because these are a weird little thing, and every one I've ever seen, I just kind of assumed it was the Ford. But this is actually kind of something that appeals to me as a mixed application vehicle. Because I love station wagons. I think it's time to get real, though. If you're looking for an SUV in the compact or kind of crossover sizing, the first name that comes to mind is the Toyota RAV4. Now, there's a really good reason for that. They are incredibly reliable, they are very well priced, they are very well equipped, and, well, they're reliable. And in today's world of automotive failures, reliability is important. I've never owned one. I, again, would probably go with the Lexus version just because I like the fancy stuff. And speaking of fancy stuff, we've just stopped over at Mercedes. Now, I do happen to know quite a bit about, well, the GLA, the GLB, the GLC, and a couple of other models because I'm a big fan of Mercedes and I find them to be very, very capable vehicles, and the price point is not what people really think it is. Sure, the price tag is a little higher than what you would expect at, well, Hyundai or Kia, but you really get what you pay for. And in the instance of the GLA, it's a car that I have fallen in love with, and that never happens for me. Now, of course, they've made changes from 2022 to now, and I believe that is what has led to the creation of this model, which is the GLC 350E. Now, this is a mild hybrid, 2-liter turbo, all-wheel drive, subcompact crossover SUV. And I just read that off the internet, so I don't know if any of it is actually accurate, because to me, this is just a small SUV. Now, this is equipped with the same 2-liter engine that my GLA 35 has, obviously with a slightly different tune. And I believe that the 8-speed dual clutch is the same. They just put the mild hybrid system as part of it. And to me, that's the way to go. The electric car thing, that's not really for me, because I believe that a hybrid is more useful. And had I known about these, the GLB, that's just kind of more of a utilitarian version of what I bought, I might have ended up with that. And had I, I don't know, won the lottery or something at the time, this is probably what I would have bought, is a big old G-Wagon. I'm kind of partial to the G63 from 2021 and 2022 because, well, it has all the nice interior and the updated suspension, but they're pricey. A little bit outside of my price range for now anyways. Right next door to Mercedes here in Kelowna is, well, Mazda. This is a brand that honestly I don't know anything about apart from they stopped making the RX-8 about 20 something years ago. But I mean, you see the SUVs everywhere. They still make a car, which is rare for a manufacturer. But I'm a little confused by all the different badges. Because I mean, this is a CX-5. It's brand new. It detailed out all here. And it is identical to the car next to it. But the car next to it has a badge that says CX-50. Weird. See what I mean? And, well, apart from the roof rack, because I think this is a demo, these are all basically identical, and I couldn't actually figure out what the differences were. Even the prices were within a couple $100. So, yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know enough about Mazda to really comment. So if you're even remotely considering an SUV, I would definitely go check them out, drive them, because they look like a Mercedes inside. But having never driven a Mazda SUV, I can't tell you if they drive nice or if they're terrible. One thing I certainly can say, Mazda has really nice color options. Now, BMW is another one of the brands that I really have no experience with, apart from, I think I had a 540 at one point, or a 740. I don't know, big car from back in the 90s. But this little guy, this is the X2. This one kind of caught my eye because it's the right size, it's the right shape, and boy, is that interior kind of nice to look at. The camera really doesn't do it justice. It's very vibrant orange. I would never personally buy that. Well, maybe I would, but yeah, I don't know. Orange is quite the choice for an interior. The little X3 looks very boring and boxy, but generally in SUV, you want it to be boring and boxy because then that means it's doing what it's meant to be. I mean, hats off to any company that can offer a color like that and actually sell it, because I think it's cool. I don't know who's buying a teal X1 for 90-something thousand dollars, but it's cool. And the mirrors, those are very cool. Here in Kelowna, I'm going to go ahead and say that the most commonly spotted SUV is going to be an Audi. Probably the Q5 is the one I see the most often. And it kind of makes sense. These are just about the right size to do anything and everything. They fit in all the little parking areas around town. That interior is quite nice. I apologize, it's quite bright while I'm recording this. And I'm a fan of the quilted kind of diamond stitched leather. These aren't terribly expensive. I mean, they do get up there. That one was an SQ5, and it was $90,000 because it has a twin turbo or supercharged V6. I couldn't actually confirm in 2025 which way they went with that, because on there it just says TFSI, but on the side of it says turbo, and on the back it said supercharged. A little bit confusing. And of course, anytime you go to the Audi dealer, this is one of the only places that you're going to be able to find a full-sized station wagon. And whew, $110,000. It kind of explains why they don't sell that many of them. I really like an SUV for its practicality, but I also really like cars for being smaller and easier to drive. So a station wagon makes the most sense. But then you end up in a small crossover, like the Q3, and everything also makes sense. It's just not quite as nice to drive, and for a lot of people, that doesn't matter, right? They just want to be able to get in, get out, get all their stuff, and get to work. And most of the SUVs that are offered for sale right now in this size, they're all a 4-cylinder engine. They're either a 1.6, 1.8, 2-liter, or a 2.5 liter. They all do about the same economy, and yeah, you're kind of buying an appliance at that stage. So if you're going to spend the money, you might as well get one that says something like Audi or Porsche on the front. This one is the Cayenne all-wheel drive hybrid. Very, very pricey, and also equipped with a 4-cylinder engine, which is strange because it's a full-size SUV. But that's where the hybrid comes in. I believe this is a plug-in hybrid. I went out before the dealerships were open because I have other things to do during the day, and I couldn't ask anybody. And well, I'm not about to actually go out and buy a Porsche, so I haven't looked into it that much. However, the Macan, this little guy, I do know a fair amount about. This is a 2-liter turbocharged engine. It has a hybrid option. It would be a mild hybrid like the Mercedes. And, well, it's a Porsche. What more do you really need to know? It's very expensive, very German, and probably not the best choice for a commuter vehicle. Mostly because these are expensive to repair, and they are quite expensive to keep on the road. Everywhere you turn here in Kelowna, there's another car dealership, and this is the Volvo dealer. And of course, the first thing you see is an electric car next to a plug-in hybrid. Now, this one actually caught my eye, the bright orange one, but the white one makes more sense. This is they call it the XC40 Recharge. It's little engine, hybrid, very basic, but nicely done. It's a Volvo, so the safety is always going to be paramount. And these things are rated at some of the best fuel economy in the industry. Haven't driven one, so again, no idea if it drives like a lumber wagon or if it's like a nice grand touring car. They do have a few different color options, which is always a good thing. But I don't know. It's a Volvo. You'll have to let me know what you think once you drive it. Which is, like I always say, the only way to know if a car is for you is to use it and drive it. So have yourselves a fantastic day. If you enjoy this sort of content, be sure to leave likes, hit subscribe, and we will catch you on the next adventure.